You know, every single house has a story to tell. And I'm not talking about the paint colors or the furniture. I'm talking about a story that's hidden deep inside the walls and buried under the floors. It's a story told by pipes and pressure, and it's totally unique to where you live. Today, we're going to dive deep into the hidden story of homes right here in Arlington.
So, let me ask you this. If you could actually listen to your home's plumbing, what would you hear? Would it be a nice, quiet, happy hum of everything working just right? Or is there a little gurgle, a little groan, hinting that trouble's on the way? Well, let's find out.
You see, Arlington isn't just any old town. Its really specific history and even the ground it's built on come together to create what is basically a perfect storm of plumbing challenges. It's the kind of stuff most homeowners never even think about until, well, it's way too late.
And here's the thing, it's not just one problem, it's how all these different things gang up on your home at once. Just picture it. You've got pipes that might be 100 years old, from the Victorian era, sitting in this shifting clay soil that's constantly squeezing and stressing them. Then, you throw in our crazy winters with those freeze-thaw cycles and, snap, you get cracks. If your house was built before 1960, chances are you have old galvanized steel pipes that are literally rusting from the inside out. On top of all that, the hard water from the Potomac is building up minerals, and big rainstorms can totally overwhelm the sewer systems. It's just a relentless, perfect storm.
So, when you've got a perfect storm brewing underground, it leads to a pretty predictable set of problems popping up all over Arlington. Let's meet the usual suspects, the most common culprits we see time and time again.
All right, first up, the old pipes themselves. The best way to think about these old galvanized and cast iron pipes is like clogged arteries for your house, seriously. As they rust and corrode over the decades, the opening for water gets smaller and smaller. That's why your water pressure might be so low. They can even flake off rust, which is why your water might look a little brown sometimes. And the worst part? They can spring these tiny pinhole leaks that you'd never notice, until there's a giant water stand in your drywall.
Next, the one nobody ever wants to deal with, the sewer line backup. Ugh. In a lot of Arlington's older neighborhoods, the sewer lines are made of clay. And you know what loves clay pipes? Tree roots. They are relentless. They'll find the tiniest crack and just force their way in, creating blockages. Now you mix that with years of grease and gunk going down the drain, and you've got a recipe for absolute disaster, especially when a big storm hits and all of that has nowhere to go except back into your house.
And then, let's talk about the appliance that basically has a ticking clock on it, your water heater. Most of these big tanks only last about 8 to 12 years before rust and corrosion just win the battle. And around here, our hard water makes it happen even faster. All that sediment builds up inside, kills the efficiency, and eventually the tank just gives up. And when it fails, it's not just a cold shower we're worried about, it's a flooded basement.
And finally, there's the seasonal threat. We all know and, well, we don't love it. Those brutal winter cold snaps are just terrible for any pipes that are in uninsulated spots, like a crawl space or an outside wall. The water inside freezes solid, it expands, it's just physics, and that ice acts like a wedge, splitting the pipe open. And then when it thaws out, boom, you've got a huge mess and major water damage. It's probably the #1 reason for emergency calls in the winter.
Okay, so, with all of these potential disasters lurking, what are you supposed to do? Well, it's not just about frantically calling a plumber. It's about having a strategy, a kind of playbook. And that playbook really breaks down into 3 different levels of service.
Think about it like this. Tier 1 is the emergency room. This is for when a pipe has already burst or your sewer is backing up. It's pure triage. The only goal is to stop the damage right now. Tier 2, that's more like playing offense. This is where you make a plan to replace that old water heater before it floods your basement. But Tier 3, that's the one most people forget. That's preventative maintenance. This is the scheduled stuff, like getting your drains cleaned, that helps you avoid ending up in the emergency room in the first place.
But here's the thing, no matter which play you're running from that playbook, whether it's an emergency fix or a planned upgrade, this isn't the Wild West. You can't just do whatever you want. Plumbing around here is a tightly regulated game with some very strict rules, and those rules have a direct impact on how things get done and how much they cost.
Let me give you a perfect example of one of these rules. Have you ever heard of a backflow preventer? Most people haven't, but DC Water requires them, and for a really good reason. It's basically a one-way security gate for your water line. It stops any contaminated water, say from your lawn sprinkler system, from flowing backward into the clean public water supply. It's absolutely mandatory, and it has to be tested every year.
So the million-dollar question, what's this all going to cost? Well, it's a mix of things. A 3 a.m. emergency call is always going to cost more than a scheduled appointment. The complexity of the job matters, of course. But you know what else matters? Simple access.
Is that broken pipe right out in the open, or is it buried behind that beautiful new tile you just put in your bathroom? That changes things. Plus, all the materials have to meet modern lead-free codes, and bigger jobs need permits and inspections. All of that gets factored into the final bill.
Phew! Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, from shifting soil all the way to backflow preventers. But let's bring it all back home. Why does any of this techie stuff actually matter to you, the person who owns the house?
Look, knowing what's going on behind your walls and under your floors, it's about so much more than just preventing a leak. It's about protecting the value of your home, which for most of us is our single biggest investment. It's about making sure your family is safe and healthy. And you know what? It's really about being empowered to make smart, calm, informed decisions instead of panicked, expensive ones in the middle of a crisis.
So we'll leave you with this one last thought. The story of your home's plumbing, it's being written every single day, whether you're thinking about it or not. But now that you know about the unique challenges, the hidden culprits, and the smart plays you can make, you get to be the one who decides what the next chapter looks like. Is it going to be a chapter about prevention and planning, or one about unexpected emergencies? Really, the choice is yours.